Welcome to Bakhita's Blessings, our weekly podcast where we explore issues in the life of the Catholic Church, share the wonderful mission of our parish, and especially seek the guidance of our patron saint, Josephine Bakhita, who leads us in our mission to open wide our doors and our hearts to worship, evangelize, and serve all God's people. I'm Father Mitch Doyen, and I'm pastor of St. Josephine Bakhita Parish, and I'm so grateful that you've joined us for our podcast.
He is so amazing, Father Mitch. I know I tell you every week you are amazing, but listen, if you have not heard this man preach, my lead servant, my pastor of the St. Josephine Bakhita Church, you are missing out. Go back to our YouTube channel and listen to how he just broke down the gospel. It was a whole gospel experience that you gave us. But anyway, my name is Dr. Alice Prince, and I am the Director of Communications and Evangelization here for the St. Josephine Bakhita Parish. And today I have my absolute fave. I know I say that all the time, but listen, she is my absolute fave. I've never said three faves, have I, Father Mitch? So, Father Mitch, can you please lead us in prayer so we can get started?
Sure. Almighty God, we ask the intercession of our beautiful St. Josephine Bakhita upon the mission of our parish, and we ask for an outpouring of your Spirit in this podcast, that our hearts might be open to where you would lead us, so that together with all who are participating, we can grow more deeply in love with one another and with your Son, Jesus Christ, all through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Bakhita's Blessings podcast is on the way. Hello, St. Josephine Bakhita, Bakhita's Blessings community. I have my absolute triple fave with us today. This is Miss Kwira Vickers. She is the middle school principal of St. Louis Catholic Academy. And if you know anything about me, you know I love education. It was funny because when I first received my doctorate degree, my kids were like, "We rich now?" And I was just like, "No, we rich in spirit. We rich in spirit." You know, because education, you know, and I explained to them that I got my doctorate degree, my education for my community, and it belongs to them, right? And so this is another young, courageous Black woman who also believes in the power of education, holding kids accountable to high standards. High scholarly standards. Not to mention she is on an amazing board, which we will talk about because she has a love for immigrant families, and that's very important to her. So I am Kwira. You're my fave. Three faves.
Four.
Oh, you want to be four? Okay. But before we just bring it to you, I'm going to toss it to Father Mitch, and he's going to say something good about you too.
Okay.
Well, Kwira, I'm just grateful that you're here, and I'm also grateful for your mission of St. Louis Catholic Academy. I mean, the work that you're doing, especially with the middle school children, I mean, it's the most important work in the world. And I love visiting the school.
Yeah,
I mean,
we love having you.
The kids are so responsive and joyful, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful mission. And your leadership is making it happen. So thank you for being a part of it.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you so much.
Listen, Kwira, one time I was bragging on you to Father Mitch, and I was trying to show him that Excel spreadsheet you had with all the numbers, and I don't think I explained it right, but I was like, no, this is growth in this area. Remember, I was down here, I was like, this is growth. No, we are counting growth, and here are all the kids that grew, and the math, and the this, and the that, and I was just bragging on you because I'm just so excited. So, Kwira, welcome to Bakhita's Blessings podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. You are a part of community. So, my first question to you is: education is important, but it's hard. What role does your faith play in your job as an educator?
Oh, honestly, it's the foundation of it. And it's grown over time. I will say that I probably stressed a lot more, worked a lot harder in my earlier years of education when my faith wasn't as strong. So, you know, being older now, being able to reflect back on 20 years of education, I can tell the difference in as I grew personally, as I got closer with God, the work became easier. The balance became, more doable. And the hard decisions are easier to tackle because my faith is just there. It's strong, and it will all work out however it's supposed to. So that has been probably the latest lesson I've had in, let go and let God. And it sounds so easy, but it's not an easy thing to do until you really do lean into your faith and you really do believe that and do it, right? It's one thing to say it. I think I've said it all my life, but here in the latest recent years, I've been able to practice it and do it.
Absolutely. I know throughout the day when we have to make hard decisions, you always say, you don't say it to me, but I've heard you say it to others, like, where's your faith?
Where's your
faith? Faith over fear. Like, Kwira is a constant reminder. And here is the thing. Kwira isn't Catholic.
I'm not.
But listen. But let me ask you. You love God.
Yeah.
You're not Catholic. But let me ask you this question. How does it feel to have somebody next to you, your friend, one of your good friends, that's so Catholic, you working in a Catholic space, but not Catholic? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, what I say is you're Catholic enough for both of us. And she believes she's going to convert me to Catholicism before this school year is over with, probably. But, it's so surprising. I didn't know what to expect. Even I'm thinking back to my interview. And they started the interview, can you pray? I was like, oh, okay, me? Okay. But I love Mass. I'm shocked at it, but I enjoy Mass. I really do. I love, your sermons and how it is school appropriate for the kids. I feel like, sometimes I need that broken down. So it's just, it's so much, it's so hard to put into words, but working for a Catholic school, honestly, is kind of a relief. There have been situations where I've talked to students about a decision they made or something that was going on, a conflict mediation with two students, and I couldn't bring up God. I couldn't bring up, just like moral, religious life lessons, things that are just so applicable to the situation, but in other schools I wasn't able to. So now it's freeing. It's like, I can love God openly. I can also use what I've learned in my personal life that's rooted in God and rooted in faith, and I can actually share that with my students. I can bring it up when talking to parents about them having low expectations for their kids and how words have power, and and so it's freeing.
You know what? I have never heard anybody say it's freeing, and I see it. I also love when we have teachable moments, when I help you see the women of faith in Catholicism, where I help you to see your black skin in Catholicism, and you're like, oh wait, I didn't know that. And I love how Father Mitch is like a ride or die for us, approachable. I'm like, but Father Mitch, we need this or we need that. And he's like, oh, okay, like he's like Superman. He comes to the rescue all the time. Is that?
No, I think I've got to the point where I'm like, well, can we call Father Mitch?
You are like a household.
Pray to Saint Josephine Bakhita. That's what works, right?
But I love your zeal with Catholic education. I love how you're like, okay, but how can we make this Catholic? Even Math Week, we found a way to put some Catholic in there. Women's History Week, a month, we found some way to put some Catholic in there. When we had Black Catholic Month, we had, everything, Black History Month, we still made it Catholic. We did Advent. We talked about like the different colors and the different seasons. And Kwira is like always on board. And that's why she say, like, God is gonna transform her. Because She's more excited about anything. She's like, the kids come up. Is it church today? Kira like, is it church today? Or we don't have church. But I appreciate your excitement for Catholic education, and we need more educators like you. Mm-hmm. To bring that excitement and just to understand that God part, and keeping the main thing. So I appreciate it. Before I toss it to Father Mitch for a question, I want you to talk a little bit about the board you sit on and why that's so important, what the mission is. I had an opportunity to attend a trivia night with you, and we had a lot of fun at that trivia night, but it was to raise money for a good cause. So talk a little bit about that organization, because Father Mitch, I'm then going to toss it to Father Mitch, because Father Mitch you guys share the same heartbeat.
Okay.
Wait till you hear this, Father Mitch. You're going to love it.
Sure.
She's going to be your triple fave too.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So I have recently joined the board of an organization here in St. Louis called Kindness Begins With Me. Mm-hmm. And Kindness Begins With Me is an organization that helps refugee families get acclimated to St. Louis, learn how to drive, take English classes. Mm-hmm. And so we are an organization that is, nonprofit, but all about helping those legal immigrants, find St. Louis as their home, find a safe haven, become a part of society, learn what they can learn, and just, take care of their families, and be as American as they want to be, and be welcomed in this country and learn. And so, driving lessons, English lessons, but we've also started doing know your rights lessons, just because of the climate and time that we're in. We've had families that just don't know their rights. They are here legally, and they have rights, and there are things that they can know to just, make their lives easier. And so that's a lot of our focus right now. Always, trying to figure out how to raise money. We are an organization that has really been hit by the change in presidency. And so, we were used to receiving a nice amount of federal funding, and that has been dropped down to what you would consider almost nothing. So we're, trying to ramp up those efforts in giving and donations and things like that, so that we can continue doing the work.
Okay,
but doing a good kindness begins with me.
Okay.
Exactly, and you're a kind person. I mean, it fits. So I appreciate looks to me like you're just doing what you can do, and not letting all that other stuff distract you from loving your neighbor right here, right now. And I think that's, if we remain committed to that, I think that can make all the difference in the world. So,
and everything will work out. Right.
That's your faith teaching you that, right?
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
So I guess that was going to be my question.
Okay.
As you were talking about the funding drying up, and maybe I'm mirroring this question from me to you. How do we stay hope-filled in the midst of so many challenges?
God is.
God is.
Right.
God is. I wish I
Yeah.
could sing. God is. God is.
And I'm glad you brought it up and brought it that way, because I find myself in circles with my friends and my family, and it's just negativity. It's so much about what's not going right and what's not happening. But there's so much that's still happening, and regardless of what happens in this country or another, God is.
God is. God is still God. Ooh, this chills. You preaching, girl? You're almost Catholic. I'm telling you.
Because that's what God said to Moses in the fire.
That part.
Just tell him that God is. Right.
And that's the beginning, the end, the middle. And so because I believe that, because that is literally inside of me, there's just always hope. There's just, there's just always. And so we're doing things like Kindness Begins With Me. We're reaching out to other organizations that are doing the same thing. I think this is a time where we can keep our minds focused on the things that are going right, but also the people that are right, the things that are happening, the people that will donate, the monies that will come in, and so we're, taking our energy and placing it in the positive realms, getting with other organizations that are finding new ways, that want to join together. We're going to do a pickleball tournament. I wish I could think of the date because it's like such a thing now with
We'll put it on our website.
We'll put it on our website.
I'll get you the information.
That's how I hurt myself with pickleball.
I don't remember that.
I feel like I was the pickleball champion, and then I had an injury.
Okay.
But I love pickleball.
I was going to play.
No. All you have to do is stretch. I didn't stretch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was my fault.
Yeah.
So we'll put it on our website. It will help further the mission. We'll continue to pray with you, your organization. I know we have a strong advocate in the St. Louis Archdiocese, Marie Kenyon, who's like the biggest advocate I know.
Okay.
Like it's God, then it's Marie Kenyon when it comes to advocacy. So we'll definitely do our role. So thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your vulnerability. We want you to stay with us. Father Mitch is going to break open and break down the gospel, and it's about the blind man. And I got some questions for you, Father Mitch. Listen, if you have not already subscribe to our YouTube channel. Right now, you probably see something scrolling on your screen telling you to subscribe. If you want to just go to church with us, worship with us, go to stbakhitastl.org. All the happenings are right there on the website. We see you, our TikTok family. We see you, our Instagram family. We see you, our Facebook family. And I promise I read all the emails that you send me. Even the ones you send me, but they're not really for me, they're for Father Mitch. I promise you I'll forward them all because everybody loves Father Mitch and we love him too. So listen, Bakhita's Blessings family, stay with us. Father Mitch is going to break open and break down the gospel. So this week's gospel, so first of all, we're still in Lent. So I hope you are growing deeper with your relationship with God. Father Mitch has truly just given us some gems to chew on, and I appreciate our lead servant for that. But this week, it's about the blind man. And I got some questions about the blind man. So Father Mitch, can you break open and break down the gospel this week?
I'm anxious to answer your questions, so let me hear those first. Okay.
You might answer them when you break open and break down. I'll see.
Okay. So this is another beautiful story from John's Gospel, and together with the story last week of the Samaritan woman at the well, and then next week will be the raising of Lazarus. These three stories, all from John's Gospel, are really at the heart of the journey of people's movement into the Catholic Church. And really it can be for all of us an opportunity to walk with Jesus. And the theme that I've been kind of trying to weave throughout our Lenten journey is friendship with Jesus. That's all. God desires us, and Jesus wants us to be in a deeper friendship with him. And so all the questions that he asks as he encounters the woman at the well, and this week the man born blind, and then next week Lazarus, it's Jesus' own vulnerability in relationship with us. And he's really just asking us to be his friend. And it's, sometimes I say he's asking us to be his bride, his spouse, his intimate friend. It's all happening in all of these stories, and this man born blind is another way of looking at our friendship with Jesus.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, so I say, this is one of my favorite stories. I said this story, and I said the story about the stone that was rejected, right? And the reason why I say that this is my favorite story is because although God healed the blind man. He healed him his physical blindness, right? The Pharisees who didn't believe him were still spiritually blind.
Right.
And for me, as I'm always looking for life applications, I'm looking at when are there times that I, Alice Prince, is spiritually blind.
Right.
What does that movement look like? You know, we have talked about our blind spots, but being spiritually blind is something deeper. And so I was having a conversation with Rakia today, and I was like, you know, Rakia, for me, it is being the best version of myself each day. And as Catholics, we do an examination of our conscience before we go to sleep. And for me, when I do that examination of my conscience, one thing I look at is, where was I spiritually blind at? Where did I not show God's compassion and care? Not Alice's standard of compassion and care, but God's standard of compassion and care.
Right.
Because it's two completely different standards sometimes.
Sure.
The other thing, Father Mitch, and I'm about to preach right now, because this is another part that I love about this gospel, is that all the disciples of Christ, children are God's light. And the light is about his truth. But when a blind man came out and could see, there were some people that could not recognize him because he could see. There were some people that was like, okay, no, this is the man. But there were some people that just didn't believe it, could not recognize him because now he had sight, because he was born blind and now he can see. And there were some people that just did not recognize him. And so for me, that part is so poignant and so important and so crucial for us not to miss, is because sometimes when we become spiritually adept, when we become spiritually in love with God, when we become washed anew, when we become part of his church, his kingdom, it's going to be some friends of us that's not going to be able to recognize us, because our old self is not like our new self, that we have shed some of that old skin. So it's going to be some circles that we not going to be able to go back around, because they're not going to be able to recognize our
some
new
people
self.
that don't go with you.
Yes.
Right. And so the way John breaks open the story,
Am I saying it right?
You got it exactly right. So in a way, and sometimes it's even funny, right? And the disciples, John picks on the disciples sometimes, because they start out with the question, well, whose sin is it that caused this man to be born blind? Which is just an opening for Jesus to say, stop that nonsense. It's not about anybody's sin, not his or his parents, or that's not what this is about. And then Jesus introduces himself again as the light, which has come into the world. And in a similar way, as people can't recognize the blind man once he's healed, they don't recognize Christ. And it could be that they're blinded by the light, or they're choosing to remain in darkness. And for me, that's what it is. I think I've said this a few times. My first move in the face of any challenge, or whenever I feel frightened, I isolate and I distance myself from community, which is really not a good place for me to go. I need to trust enough to step out and stay connected. So what we see in the story is the Pharisees, the parents, the neighbors, everybody is so worried about what anybody else might think that they cannot say the truth that is so evident right in front of them. The parents know how their son was restored to sight, but they won't answer the question because they're afraid that they won't be welcome in the synagogue. And the Pharisees, it's right in front of them. They've been watching Jesus for a few months at least now, and they know, but they can't bring themselves to say it because everything they base their faith on seems vulnerable. So they remain in the fear, they remain in the dark, right? And so maybe the invitation is for us to trust God more and let go of whatever we're afraid of. And certainly to let go of what anyone else might think. And I think that's what you were getting at.
Yes.
You know, if somebody calls me a holy roller or a raving this or lunatic or whatever, I'm really not going to worry about that, right? Because we got work to do. I think that's what you were talking about, Kwira. I mean, this work that's before us is way more important than what anybody else might think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
That part, you know, it was so interesting to me when the parents was like, listen, I know that he was born blind. I know he was my son, but anything else, ask him, question him about it. I'm like, how you gonna put that on your kid? like, you know, not kid, but man like that. You know, it's like you said, like they didn't want to own the true power and light that God like healed him. And just again for me, like sometimes like you may not recognize me, and that's okay. You may not, you know, and so let me ask you this question. And a part of this Bakhita's blessings, like we want our community to grow in faith and grow in their journey with God. I know every time that I come here, I grow. I just do. And I feel like our producers, we love you, Bayla, we love you, Rakia. Our producers feel the same way. Because Bayla keeps showing up day after day to come. Give us some life applications. I always ask him, like, take me through the week. And I say me, but it's the whole community. Take us through the week. It's Lent. How do we use this gospel to be a better version of ourselves? What do we take from this?
Well, I think the prayer this week, there's a beautiful song which I won't sing. I'll spare you that. But help me to see your face. Because really, Jesus is inviting us into a friendship. And what's beautiful about the man born blind, physically, he's the only one in the scene who cannot see Jesus at the beginning.
Wow. That's another
But like you said before, spiritually, he's really the only one who recognizes Jesus as the Christ.
Ooh, that's deep. You preaching.
And so I think we all, maybe the prayer can be, help me to see your face. Help me to trust your love. And we do that. Every person that we encounter is an opportunity to witness God's grace.
Absolutely.
If we have eyes to see. And that's the real challenge, because no matter who we bump into, no matter the circumstances, even if it's, you know, somebody who is, you know, criticizing us or saying something mean or whatever's happening, God is, right? And to stay awake to that truth and give us eyes to see you no matter the circumstance.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Kira, this is good.
It's good.
Listen, we got a Catholic priest that can preach candy. Look at you. You need some tissue, Kira.
Okay.
Listen, thank you so much, Bakhita's Blessings Podcast, for just being with us on the journey. Listen, keep praying for us. We get all of your emails. We get all of your prayers. Please do not stop praying for us. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have not already liked or subscribed, please do so right now. We are trying to hit 1,000 friends on YouTube, and we can only do that with your help. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday at Bakhita's Blessings Podcast. Bye-bye.
All right.
You see what Father Mitch do? He go like this. He threw it. He threw it back at you. So